Happy Tuesday. Good morning. Good morning. Get your coffee and your pug.
Oh,
We're going to read our morning meditation. Tuesday morning, May the 5th.
Cinco de Mayo. I don't know what it actually means, but it's your turn to read.
Is it Cinco de Mayo Day? That sounds
I don't know what it means.
like we should.
I just saw it on Facebook.
That triggered a response in me.
Why?
I feel like we need to have burritos and tacos today. Is Cinco de Mayo like a Christian day? Like I feel
No,
like.
I don't think
Did you have a okay night
think
last night?
I think it's a reason to drink.
Oh, it's one of those.
I don't
days.
actually know though.
You should Google that. Somebody Google that.
I will later.
Drink your coffee first, so you're okay.
It's so hot.
So hot.
It has a beautiful crema.
How do you know it's Cinco de Mayo Day? Is
saw
it
it
for
on
real?
Facebook.
Oh, you saw it on Facebook. FB. Anyway, could we have burritos tonight? Maybe.
I don't know.
We don't ever make burritos. How about tacos?
I don't know how to make burritos.
You know how to make pizzas, little flat, naan bread pizzas. That's kind of like a burrito.
I can make tacos.
Tacos. Remember the taco kits? Oh my goodness.
Oops. What?
Okay, May 5th, control. No one here has that problem. Maybe it's not about a problem. Maybe anymore. Okay. Many of us have been trying to keep the whole world in orbit with sheer forceful application, and mental energy. What happens if we let go? If we stop trying to keep the world orbiting and just let it whirl? It'll keep right on whirling. It'll stay right on track with no help from us, and we'll be free and relaxed enough to enjoy our place in it. Control is an illusion, especially the kind of control we've been trying to exert. In fact, controlling gives other people, events, and diseases such as alcoholism control over us. Whatever we try to control does have control over us and our life. I have given this control to many things and people in my life. I have never gotten the results I wanted from controlling or trying to control people. What I receive for my effort is unmanageable life, whether that unmanageability was inside me or external events. In recovery, we make a trade-off. We trade a life that we have tried to control, and we receive in return something better. Life that is manageable. My prayer for today I will exchange a controlled life for one that is manageable. Oh, that's awesome. I want to trade a controlled life for one that is manageable. And the illusion to get a manageable life is using my control.
How would I know if I'm controlling?
Somebody might tell you.
Other than that, not everybody has the joy
Somebody might
of a
inform you.
truthful husband.
I'm not saying me. I'm just saying.
No, but how would
I was making
somebody
a
know?
generality.
How would someone
I
know
would
if
say
they're
number
controlling?
one, somebody might bring it up. That is an obvious
It
one.
is an obvious
And then number two, obvious, you have unmanageability, you have restlessness, irritability. Everything inside of you is out of control. And so when we're teaching anger management, the first question I ask to a room full of addicts is that there's outside cues and inside cues. I say, do you have control over the outside cues? And there's always the one or two guys. Yeah, and they're serious because they've been trying to control the outside for so long. And then I ask, do you have control on the inside? And most of them say, well, no. And it's funny because it's so true. And that's what unmanageability does to us. We have no control inside, so we try to control the outside. And that's where our lives become unmanageable. We're irritable, restless, discontent, and we need a freaking beer. Or 20.
I was thinking too, if I always get frustrated with people, if I'm always getting frustrated with people
Because you have a demand or an expectation on them.
because they're not doing what I want
not-
or acting
they're
how
not
I think
controllable.
they should do. But it's a tricky situation. So let's say this is purely hypothetical. let's say, it is purely hypothetical, I mean that for real, but it could be misinterpreted.
When somebody
Let's say,
starts that, usually.
let's say how someone talks is very frustrating and like hurtful to a person that they're around. So if I'm around someone, I really do mean this as hypothetical.
Mm-hmm.
How does a person, as they're learning to let go and not control, that balance between boundaries and not controlling people? I think that is like, when you're like, I don't want you to treat me like this, is it control when you're telling the person, I don't want you to treat me like this? And then boundaries are what I can implement and what I do. So if I don't want someone to treat me like that, I have control over the inside cues. And so I can change my behavior. I can make different decisions about who I spend time with, about how I interact with them, about the things that I say to myself when they're speaking. But because there's always that question of like, well, do I tell the other person like my boundary? Like, hey, I'm not gonna, it's an interesting conversation that comes up in my CODA meeting sometimes.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I was thinking like little things where you're like, oh, I don't like the tone of your voice, and oh, you're always getting mad at me, or that kind of thing is just more about working your recovery and not being controlled by other people's responses. But when there's an unhealthy situation and you're in an active codependent addicted relationship, then I think that we know that you can't fix somebody, and that person is only going to change when he or she gets to rock bottom spiritually, emotionally.
Right.
Like rock bottom to me is 100% death, but we can have rock bottom moments. And so I think sometimes when the person is trying to be controlling and try to fix, then that would be a sign that maybe I need to be out of this relationship. And I think that you gave me the best gift in 2005 when you left the house and I'm on a bender and I come back Sunday and there's only one toothbrush in the toothbrush holder. And I think that was the best gift you could give me.
A toothbrush?
Well, you just left my toothbrush and you took the other ones.
All the other ones.
And
I took everything.
You took everything, yeah. I didn't notice the other stuff until no. That was a little rough shame.
Oh, because
But when I went into the bathroom, I had a bed and a towel. And when I went upstairs, I know I'm laughing, but it's so sad. I went upstairs and there was one toothbrush and I had this sinking feeling like the floor beneath me fell off. And that you were the floor. And so I think
you don't want to be somebody else's floor.
You don't want to be somebody's floor. But that is you for so long were trying to control. But the reality is you're stuck in this relationship with somebody that you love and you have a child with and you have a home with. And so those decisions aren't easy. But at the end of the day, I believe to get the best help is that you have to let go of control and let God. God was the only one. Jail didn't get me sober. My parents didn't get me sober. Timeouts and punishment didn't get me sober. God got me sober. And my time alone, all I heard was the raging voice in my head. And it was basically kill yourself. And so only God can save me from that. So I thank you for all the people that were supportive.
It really was me letting go of control because I had tried everything, realized that I couldn't fix you, I couldn't get you to stop, and that I needed to love myself, and that that God loved me, and that I needed to love myself. And I think the biggest thing, though, was realizing that actually I wasn't safe, which I had never admitted. But if in a relationship with an addict, especially an addict who doesn't have a job, you don't know what they're doing. You don't know who they're interacting with. You don't know who they owe money to.
Them bad people.
And I had never admitted that. And so other people pointed it out to me, and I kind of got, I guess, maybe I was a little too scared, but I just knew that I needed to do something drastic because if nothing changes, nothing changes.
And whatever you try to control has control over us. And so you were trying to control me, but my addiction had control over you.
So much control over our entire life.
Isn't that an awesome line that when I exchange my controlled life
for one that is manageable.
And now your life is manageable.
Yeah.
But you had to let go of everything that you felt was necessary to do. Mm-hmm. Wow.
The promises came true, and I think it's important for people to look up. There's promises in Alcoholics Anonymous.
There's step 3 promises.
There's
that never say, it doesn't say amen. Do you know why?
Because it's not
over. It's not over. And the amen comes in step 7. Yeah.
And then, so they have promises in like the Al-Anon material. They have promises in the CODA material, Codependence Anonymous material. They have promises in the Overeaters Anonymous material. And I think the groups are really a place where people can go and feel like they're not alone, feel like they're not the only one. And so if you haven't found your people, find your people.
Yeah. And I'm a firm believer of doing this process and then finding your people. Sometimes you just have to mitigate the pain.
Yeah.
And get out of the patterns and get out of control and get some healing and then find your people. Because I think like at LifeLab, we work with a ton of different people with different issues, and then they might go to OA or AA or NA or BA or CA or SA.
And LifeLab, we just realized that like people in general, you might not have a clue what's going on, but you just know that your life is unmanageable. Or just that there's more and you want to learn and grow. And so we teach about how we're created. And
so you can't have control and growth. You can't have control and manageability. Your life is unmanageable because what you're trying to control actually controls you.
It makes my eyes watery to think about like people whose lives were unmanageable and who now, a friend of ours posted on her social the other day. She was saying how like a year ago she couldn't walk. She was going to walk with us a 5K and she had to get picked up. She couldn't walk it. And then the other day she just went for a 2-hour bike ride. It makes me want to cry.
That's a spiritual experience. That's the power of God.
Yeah.
Wow.